All right, welcome to edition of a new episode after a whole year and 4 months of the Wrestling Retrospective Podcast. I'm your host, Earnest EJ Christian, and we bring in 2/3 of the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. We got DJ Minter and we got Robert Bonnette here, and we're gonna do a little watch along here since it is SummerSlam season. And today, well, not today, but this right now, it is the 35th anniversary of the first SummerSlam in WWE history. Fellas, how you guys doing?
Good.
Hanging in there, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. I love old school. I love golden era, Hulkamania era, whatever we want to call it. And I'm really excited. I'm glad this podcast is back. And hopefully we can continue doing this in a more consistent manner. But
thank you for inviting us.
Yes, absolutely. But I'm excited about this one because we're going to actually do a watch along. It is the 35th anniversary of the first SummerSlam ever, 1988, where the Mega Powers met the Mega Bucks. Of course, the Mega Powers, of course, of my two favorite wrestlers of all time, Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, versus Andre the Giant and the $1 Million Man Dibiase. Before we get this watch along started, timestamp on this one for you folks out there. It is 1 hour 59 minutes and 49 seconds to start when we start. A couple stats here. Of course, this event took place on August 29th in 1988. It came live from Madison Square Garden. You guys have been to MSG before? You guys?
I went actually September 2021. Went to SmackDown there, and Jason was there too.
Okay.
Yeah, that was our first and only time meeting in person.
Oh, DJ, did you go?
Embarrassingly enough, I lived a 10-minute train ride away from MSG when I lived in New York City, and never once. I was not watching WWE regularly at that time, so I didn't really have an ear to the ground as to when they were.
Oh,
when
wow,
they were going to be there.
That's crazy. I went one time MSG, saw Michael Jackson's last concert there.
Oh wow,
wow,
yeah, that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, 2001. Then actually days before 9/11 too. So go figure. 20,000 attendance for this one. The tagline for this show was "Where the Mega Powers meet the Mega Bucks." This event had a 4.5 buy rate, which means in layman's terms that 4.5% of the pay-per-view subscribers ordered the event. So I'm looking forward to this one. I don't want to talk too much about this. We'll dive into all the superlatives and the storylines and the stuff that are surrounding the WWE at this time. At this time, Macho Man Randy Savage was the undisputed WWE champion at this time. Hulk Hogan is his return back to the company after a few months off to film No Holds Barred, which will come out in the very next year, of course. So this is a feud that culminated. Remember, you can remember too. Hogan and Andre feuded year before this. So Dibiase comes in late '87, and he wants to buy the title. And Dibiase, of course, they all conspire to screw Hogan on the title. No referees on the main event in February '88. Hogan was the title for 4 years, and then the title goes up to what do they call it? They put it to a tournament, WrestleMania 4. What's the word again they use for that when they put it to a?
Was it receivership or
no? When you, damn, I'm going blank here about the word they use. Vacant. Thank you.
Yeah, it was vacated.
Vacant. Vacated the title, right? Which of course, Macho Randy Savage ends up winning the title that night in at Trump Plaza, at Caesar Palace. So we're here now months later, and these two sides culminate. So let's go ahead and start this event. It is the Mega Powers, Mega Bucks from SummerSlam '88. Worth noting also too that the special referee is Jesse Ventura. So this should be pretty interesting here. So let's get this party started. All right, guys, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there's that old WWF logo.
Oh yeah.
So July 9th, 19... What were you doing July 9th, 1988,
DJ? Probably getting ready to watch this. I mean, at this point, let's see. I was 15 years old, getting ready to be 15 years old. So wrestling was everything to a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
At least for another year, and then I was gonna, get seriously embroiled in high school and discover girls.
You're showing your age there, but I just turned 8, but I was already a fan at this point though.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You want to hear a fun fact with me back then? How much of an idiot I was at 8 years old? There was a time I thought the Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior were the same person. I don't know why.
Oh my goodness.
I remember watching this as they're beating up Savage. Like you got Dibiase and Andre working over Randy Savage here, and Elizabeth. Virgil's just holding Elizabeth, And even at 15 years old, knowing what I was watching, it was still pretty hard drama.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, like was the year before when
Correct,
Savage, when Savage did the face turn when Honky Tonk Man shoved down Elizabeth, that was.
Mm-hmm.
that was a really like.
But that face turn was coming for months though. Like after Mania 3 though, you started hearing him get more support from the crowds.
Because I mean there were some guys like him and like the Road Warriors and Jake the Snake. Like you couldn't keep them heels. They were too cool to keep booing all the time.
Yeah.
So they all eventually turned face because you just
Oh hey, look, it's the GOAT referee, GOAT manager of all time, Bobby Heenan.
Bobby the Brain. Yeah, it's interesting. Part of wrestling fandom has we accuse them of cheering the heels now, but we kind of did that back then. Like you said, we did it with Jake. We did it with Randy. No, I hated him.
Maybe you did because you're a little older. So you probably seen a little more. I was 8 years old. I'm still I'm a Hulkamaniac.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with Hulkamania.
Yeah, but by 15 though, we knew what we were getting with Randy Savage. We knew what was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I guess I think the difference is people didn't hijack the shows.
Oh, look at Miss Elizabeth. The very reason I got the white girls. Mania 4 especially is what turned me on that, because Vanna White and Miss Elizabeth were the two women that made me get into white women.
Well, in the pro wrestling territory, for me it was Missy Hyatt.
Was it really?
Yeah, I knew he was going to say Missy Hyatt.
Brother, let me tell you. Okay, I was 12 years old in 1986. Seeing Missy Hyatt in 1986 at 12 years old will change your life, brother.
Bruce Pritchard.
Okay.
Oh wait, look at Bruce Pritchard.
Ain't lying on that.
Okay.
Well, Rob and I watched NWA/WCW before we ever even got into WWE.
And
so Missy Hyatt was our first.
Makes sense.
Oh man,
our introduction to that.
By the way, Mr. Bruce Pritchard here. Yeah, Mr.
God, talk about another iconic character, Brother Love. So brilliant.
In hindsight, now I obviously hate him as a kid because I'm again a kid. Hulkamania, don't fuck with him. As an adult now who watches wrestling with a much different eye now that they're 8 years old, Brother Love is one of the greatest heels in history of the company.
Oh yeah,
and what to never actually wrestle a match,
right?
I mean, he did obviously as Bruce Pritchard, when he was younger, but for Brother Love to do nothing more than take a few bumps here and there, absolutely agree with you.
Yeah,
you better pay attention. What a dude! Andre is so badass. Dibiase put the money in his pocket.
Just check his shorts now.
Yeah. And for me, look, Jesse is the all-time GOAT heel commentator.
Without question. I already said my all-time favorite commentary team in history of wrestling, not just WWE, but wrestling, is Gorilla and Jesse.
See, I'm a Gorilla and Jesse guy too. I mean, a lot of people say Gorilla and Bobby Heenan, but no, I'm Gorilla and Jesse.
My
second favorite one is Vince and Jesse. You see a parallel here? Jesse always, Jesse forever.
Yeah. Jesse to this day still has one of my favorite commentary lines ever, and I think it was from one of the Royal Rumbles. It may have been the first actual pay-per-view one. George the Animal Steel comes out, and he never actually gets in the ring, and he just kind of leaves. And Gorilla says, the animal's been eliminated. And Jesse's like, he never even got in the ring, Gorilla. I don't know why that pops me. 40 years later, that still pops me.
Go ahead.
Oh, because to me, Jesse was the best one because, too many times the heel commentator, they go full heel all the time to the point of being ridiculous. And Jesse knew exactly how far to go and when to pull it back and when to, just be honest and when not to be.
To me, his peak though was Mania 5. To me, one of the reasons why WrestleMania 5 is my favorite WrestleMania of all time, not only because Savage and Hogan going at it, but because of Jesse. that entire 3 hours broadcast, the shit he was saying on that broadcast, the luster and all this shit, the entire night, he was on top of his game.
Yeah. He understood how to tell a story.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He has some great nuances in this match in a minute.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. His Saturday Night Main Event stuff is... I watch it every other day when the wife's not home. Like tonight, she's not home till like 1 a.m. So I'm going to put on Saturday Night Main Event from like 5 to 1988. And this the classic commentary from those matches. Oh, there they go. Mega Bucks.
Yep.
Look at Bobby's gold tie. Rest in peace, man. I love Bobby Heenan. Oh, my God.
And then in the story behind Dibiase, Vince basically told him he had to live the gimmick out in
Sure
public.
as hell did. Sure as hell did.
Yeah, and I mean they gave him walking around money to.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I mean they gave they gave him walking around money so he could just live the gimmick and and pay for everything with $100 bills and all of that all the time.
What a terrible job. Let me guess, you're going to pay me a paycheck, but then you're going to give me funny money to go out and live the gimmick.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, you're going to give me
the crowd.
Oh man. And those bits like when he closed the pool down, made all the kids get out of the pool.
They're savage. Liz and Hogan.
Oh, look at that lovely lady there.
God, I was in love with her. You have no idea about man.
Oh no, I know.
Man. Woo.
Everybody rocking the red and yellow.
Yeah. They come down to Savage's music for the record.
Yeah.
And then they close with Hogan's music at the end of the match. Yeah, Hulk. Yeah, it's funny. Like Hogan wasn't a champion here, and yet he was still the most over guy in the company, even without the belt.
Yeah, well, that's which is and I mean, and that's the same thing when Warrior was champion, because Warrior as champion was a great idea, but in practice it was not so good.
But do you think that may have been because of the fact maybe because at that time the wrestling as a whole started to already peaked at that point now? I mean, I don't want to blame Warrior. Obviously,
some of it was not.
Still,
yeah.
I
mean, some of it was not his fault because, like I said, about 1990, I mean, things had peaked and were already starting to slip. But also, it didn't help. He was just completely incoherent on promos and not.
Yeah.
I mean,
people like that though.
Well, I guess but I think they had him talking longer because now he's the champion. He has to talk longer or whatever.
In the company, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and
I think word started to get out that he was an a-hole of a person, and I don't think that that is probably one of the most disappointing parts of my fandom, being such a huge mark for the Ultimate Warrior, to find out how much of a real life jerk the guy was a bummer. Like it really was.
Yeah, you're right. I'm with you on that. I feel like.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
And I mean, he was a jerk above, because look, I mean, the wrestling business turned a lot of people into jerks because of the way it was back then. But he was above and beyond.
He was extra.
Yeah, he was extra. Like, yeah, I mean, he was extra. He wasn't turned in. Yeah, he was above and beyond somebody who just kind of got turned into that by the environment.
I think that wrestling documentary on the Warrior, which I still have, the Total Destruction Ultimate Warrior or Self Destruction Ultimate Warrior. Yes, it was definitely overplayed by the company, but I think there's a lot of truth to what they were saying in that thing also too.
I never saw it. Yeah.
I've seen snippets of it, and it's a burial. Let me
watch the whole thing.
It's a burial. The whole thing is.
They pulled it eventually. They pulled it off the shelves eventually. They eventually pulled it. The company stopped selling it, but honestly, there's a lot of truth to what was said in there.
Yeah. They retracted a lot of it after he made good with the gun. This is one of the nuances here as we're watching along. Jesse
changing the apron
for no real good reason changes the sides of the tag ropes.
I know. I don't get it. and watch Hogan get pissed off. And watch Jesse right here.
Yeah.
You don't talk to me.
Because it's funny because of course Jesse and Hogan, of course, maybe still do have real life heat.
Yeah. Well, some of that went back to Jesse tried to organize
Yeah.
the workers, and a lot of people sided with Hogan because Hogan was the bread and butter.
Yeah.
Jesse's the better man coming on this years later, though, man. Jesse to this day still has more, not I want to say clout, but he's definitely, politically speaking too. Also, definitely more nuance and more honest, and I always appreciate that. Like a Savage telling Hogan to do. I'm the champion. You go outside right now. I'll take your business.
Get out of my ring.
And look who's there. Baby oil. No baby oil.
Talk about heat. I don't think Andre liked Macho.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's part of the whole baby oil thing. Like Macho used to wear baby oil all the time, and Andre hated that shit.
Oh wow!
Yeah. You guys ever seen the Andre documentary on HBO?
No, never.
You gotta watch that. Bill Simmons actually produced that. You gotta watch that.
Oh, okay.
You gotta watch that. It's so
it's
worth
been in my queue for a minute.
Dude, you gotta get on that, man. Seriously, like ASAP. Please.
Absolutely. This is an interesting thing. We're getting ready to Savage. He's got the finger. He tags in Hogan. Because I watched this recently.
Okay.
Hogan does a lot of work here. Like, I really thought this was going to be like largely Savage taking all the heat, Hogan getting the hot tag and going home.
Yeah.
Hogan's in here for a hot minute.
Yes, he is. Obviously, Dibiase is too, because Dibiase has to carry the match.
Well, yeah.
For all the shit Hogan gets, though, he wasn't terrible.
No, it's just he didn't have to in the WWE ring in the United States. He didn't have to do a whole lot of stuff.
His Japanese work was really good, actually.
Yeah. His stuff in Japan should be studied.
Yeah.
That being said, I would like to have seen a really good technical match with him and Dibiase. I mean, as a kid, I enjoyed the sports entertainment spectacular that these guys put on, and Dibiase really made everybody who was in the ring with look like $1 million. Right. I would love to have seen a good hold for hold match with Hogan, because Dibiase was amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Dibiase at this point right now in '88, arguably the biggest heel in the company. Arguably
one of the best workers in the world too.
Yeah. Yes.
Like right now, if I give you top 3 heels right now, like Andre obviously number 1, because Andre at this point was starting to, like, the Hogan Andre thing had gotten old at this point now. It's well over a year old.
Yeah.
But Andre was not putting enough work in to justify being number 1 heel anymore. To me, it was Dibiase. It was I would say Rick Rude at this point now too. That him and Jake at this point was feuding. Because
my dad legit had heat towards Ravage and Rick Rude.
Did he really?
Oh yeah, man. Oh, because once he started wearing like the tights with Cheryl Roberts picture on him, he was pissed about that.
Mm-hmm.
I love Rob's stories about his dad and his love-hate relationship with pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, and it's because he's like, man, this was real. Jake would have shot him for doing that.
Classic Hogan elbows.
Hogan always had a good elbow drop. It was nice and solid. And it didn't look like he was. Oh, Andre caught him.
Andre's working. Look at him.
I'll tell you what, Andre made the most of what little he had left, though.
You damn right he did.
Oh, he did.
Damn right.
Yeah.
He damn right. Impact.
Yeah.
Yep.
Question: heel Savage or face Savage? You prefer?
Heel.
Yeah.
Me too.
Heel Savage.
Although I will say I do like face Savage in WCW over heel Savage.
Okay.
Because face Savage, while he wasn't the complete prick asshole, he had an edge still in WCW. That Flair, that Ric Flair rivalry he had in WCW 94-95 was really, really intense.
Because I missed most of that. Because
Yeah, I had pretty much checked out on Hulk Hogan at that point, and that was one of the phases in my life where I kind of see
Hogan or Savage?
Hogan, well, wrestling in general, but largely Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
So when he went to WCW, I was not on board for that shit.
Oh, so was
like,
I. I barely watched. I just on hindsight. NWO comes around. That's when I came back.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
I mean, Hogan being there destroyed a lot of what Rob and I grew up on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They tried to do the same thing that they did in Sanford. It's like, it wasn't.
Because to me, it would have been like if the Washington Commanders, if they had signed Troy Aikman to play quarterback, that's how it would have felt. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
If Troy Aikman had come to Washington and play quarterback, we'd all just been sitting there like, man, screw this guy.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
of course.
To their credit, bringing him on board accomplished the mission because they started putting more butts in seats.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's what, honestly for me, that's what made it kind of even harder to swallow because it was like they had to get this guy. they had to go get the enemy to turn things around, and it did start turning things around, and you just had to kind of sit there and that, which is why I didn't really watch much until the NWO started because I just didn't want to watch that. I just could not sit there and watch.
It was weird though, for me because I even somewhat today I am a Hogan disciple, even though everything I know about Hogan, obviously on a personal level, I can't stand the guy, but as I'm able to turn off the real shit and go into the whole, 8-year-old kid thing.
I'll defend the stuff that I see on my TV screen.
You're damn right.
I'll defend that to the death.
Right. In 96, though, he turns heel, and I'm like, I'm not convinced it's real. And then the next day on Nitro, he confirms that, yes, it's all real. And I stay with it. I stick with him. I'm like, okay, well, guess what? I guess I'm black and white now, too. Fuck it. Hogan's bad, so what? I'm on board.
Because to me, Hogan, I will still say that Hogan is... his ring work is everybody should study it. If you're a wrestler, you should study his ring work, how to work the crowd, how much offense to take from your opponent, how much offense to give your opponent.
Of course.
And when to come back. You should study if you're a wrestler, you should study all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
And how to get the crowd without having to do some, 450 flip through a table or something.
Right here, they're working a chin lock. You know, and 6 foot billed as 6'8"? Is that what they build Hogan as?
Yeah, 6'8".
He's being ground down to powder by a guy 3-4 inches shorter than him and probably 50 pounds lighter.
Yeah, Dibiase is 260. So yeah. The list is 260.
Because Dibiase is a big dude himself.
Yeah.
I mean, like you don't realize it until you see him in person, but man, he's a pretty big dude himself.
Look at Heenan. Look at Heenan on the outside, man, jacking the crowd up, man. He's so good. Look at Heenan. Look at all the heat Heenan's giving. Look at that.
Heenan, Slick, and Jim Cornette were the 3 guys that I looked to for inspiration when I was doing managing.
Slick. I'm so glad it says Slick.
Slick was next level, man.
He'll never get his flowers.
People don't appreciate that dude.
That dude, he's my favorite manager of all time, for the record. My personal favorite.
Mine is Cornette, which I mean, because to me, like Cornette never. I mean, if you were just a totally despicable heel manager, like because Heenan would make jokes and be funny sometimes and whatnot, and like Cornette went just all the way over to the dark side and stayed over there, and
see, I didn't get exposed to Cornette until like he came to WWE in 91, 92.
Oh, okay, because like the stuff he did in the the angle he did with Baby Doll in the NWA in 1986, he legit had to. He said like he had to get escorted out to the parking lot and whatnot. I mean,
got real heat.
Oh yeah, because
nuclear heat back in the day, man.
Because
close line.
Because he jabbed her in the stomach with his tennis racket. And
in 1984, you didn't do that.
No, I mean, it was the most dastardly thing, and because the Midnight Express were holding her, and he just jammed his tennis racket handle into her stomach. And of course, that has all types of connotations as far as, because, women and, having children and all of that. And that was, and then so, I mean, and there's, and there was David Crockett on commentary, just sold it and, everything. But yeah, that's another thing for another time. But,
by the way, no two better sellers in history of wrestling than Dibiase and Savage. They knew how to sell.
Dibiase, like I said, Dibiase made everyone he was in the ring with look like $1 million.
You're damn right.
It's a shame his career got cut off so short. Probably because of the way he worked. I remember, and I don't remember, it was the Royal Rumble that Flair won. So somebody who's much smarter than me checked the date on that. There was a moment in time where Ric Flair got in there and him and Dibiase got hands on each other, and the crowd lost it. And I wanted a Dibiase Ric Flair one-on-one match in that moment. I was like, and it was the match I never knew I wanted.
Right.
Yeah, because
and then they're in the ring and they've got hands and the crowd is hot. I'm like, I need this.
Because I think they did have some old matches back when Flair was NWA champion. Had to go find those somewhere, but and see, and when you talking about selling, see, I'm not a big fan of the overselling.
Like Shawn Michaels.
I'm just that, and then Kurt.
That's a mean asshole though. Thing also too.
Well, at one time with Hogan, he was being extra on purpose.
He was being extra for that one.
But there's a time and place where like if Goldberg spears you, you should fold up like an accordion, right? But if you're just taking basic punches and kicks and guys are flopping around and flipping all over the place, I don't really like that.
I like that you brought up Mr. Perfect because I have a love-hate with Mr. Perfect for that reason. Amazing wrestler, amazing athlete, but my God, could he oversell?
Yeah.
Somebody posted something either late last week or this week because it's SummerSlam season. That classic that he had with Bret Hart.
1990? Oh, yeah. 91.
The classic that he had with Bret Hart. But I'm looking at some of the selling, and I'm like, one, you're getting punched one way and you're bumping in the opposite direction. You're like over bumping for the simple. Just as good as the match was, I have a hard time putting it on the same pedestal that a lot of people do. For that reason.
You think that's bad?
I didn't think it was a bad match.
No. The selling he did on the year before that against Texas Tornado was even worse.
That one too. That one was even worse.
Selling, overselling. I agree with you, DJ, on that for the record.
Yeah. Yeah, and to me, it's like it's not. Oh, Andre got him. And because to me, that's not like showing that the move is hurting you, right? I mean, that's just it's. And then I think a lot of fans, especially like in the IWC, learn the wrong lesson from that because they think selling is if you're not flopping around like that, then that you're not selling.
Every time Andre does that, no matter who has the Hogan, the Savage, he takes the hair and hit him in the back of the head. Every time I see that, regardless, it fucking hurts me to this day. Oh my God, I got a headache watching that.
Because he made the
size of Andre's head, and you're like, my God, if he actually headbutted somebody,
oh yeah,
you'd be taking a 3-day nap.
Yeah, he'd knock you out.
Yeah.
Here we go. Now we're getting to the good stuff.
Yes. By the way, Superstar Billy Graham, rest in peace. He did commentary here in place of Jesse, obviously, because Jesse's doing this.
Yeah.
A little too over the top at times. On commentary for me.
Yeah, sometimes he could be, but I mean, he was okay for the time.
Right. It was every day, so I get it. There we go.
There it is. The skirt is off.
Nice little cute ass, right? A little cute ass. Nothing huge, but look at Jesse. Like, what the fuck do I do?
My God, my dad was so mad in this moment watching this. And it wasn't this part that got him mad. It wasn't Elizabeth like ripping off her skirt, although he did have some commentary on that. It's like, this is supposed to be a wrestling match, and these two assholes are out here shaking hands. Like, that's what my dad had the biggest problem with, was the handshake with Hogan and Savage.
And there's Savage hitting Andre.
And then they got clobbered by.
So it's Virgil.
Yeah.
There was rumors, dirt sheets, that Vince had tried to bring Ric Flair over to the company at this point. And the plan was to have Flair and Savage wrestle at the SummerSlam. But Flair decided to stay in the NWA because he was still loyal to them.
Well, because he's been trying to get, because I read the Road Warriors book, Animal wrote it, and Vince has been trying to get them to come over forever too. And it was the same thing. He made it, he had them come out to his house and gave them the whole pitch and everything. And they decided to stay for in the NWA also because of loyalty. Because those guys are loyal to Jim Crockett, man.
I hear they're right here with Hogan picking up Elizabeth.
There it is. The first,
that's
it's the first sign, the first one, and they don't say this is the beauty of the storyline. They don't make it obvious. You have to pick it up here, right there, boom, right there. With Savage and Hogan. That's the only clue because no one else says anything.
Yeah,
nobody comes to say anything. That's perfect storytelling. Go ahead, Rob.
And because I think sometimes, one thing, one criticism about modern day stuff is they overdo telling you giving you the hints.
Yeah. I've always said that with WWE, they are the worst at foreshadowing their own shit these days.
Now, yes.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because of the crowd it is now. Maybe because the era we're in now too, especially. Everything
or maybe we've just been watching this stuff for so long.
But this storyline, obviously now the Bloodline to me is the greatest storyline in history of the company. But prior to the last year or two, this was to me the greatest storyline in history of the company.
Oh, it was. And at all the different points, again, they didn't telegraph the stuff. You saw Savage slowly turning babyface, but when Elizabeth went and got Hulk Hogan to come out there and save him, that was a shock.
In October 87. Yep.
Yeah, I mean that was
because they feuded before that.
Yeah, and so exactly, and then and the way they set it up, and then they didn't they didn't magically become instant best friends. It was like a slow burn. Them
beautiful
coming together, and again, like you saw, they gave you the hints, but they didn't hit you over the head with it on commentary and all of that. Because at the end of WrestleMania 4, they're standing in the ring together, and you could, even then you could nothing, there was no tension or anything, but
no,
you could look at that and you could say, okay, that was kind of the first, they're just put them standing together in the ring at the end of WrestleMania 4. It's like you kind of knew that. Okay, at some point, that kid
still has that skirt. I promise you.
Yeah, he better.
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to touch it though.
Another clue, like him touching her, not her ass, but near her ass.
Right. Interestingly
Savage would use that in video later on.
They built so much off of this that culminated in the reunion of Elizabeth and Savage years down the road.
2 years,
yeah.
So there was so much that spun off of this era. It was so much good stuff that people just missed out on.
Yeah. No, this was a great time of wrestling.
It was, and we were innocent as fans back then. And I think that's the biggest part of wrestling fandom. That's what the wrestling world is missing right now, is the innocence.
Yeah.
We know, or we think we know way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
my only problem with the SummerSlam is that we had only one title match. Just one.
Well, but the thing about that is though, but
not even a tag match. Not even a tag title match either.
Yeah, and no, what's
and they wrestled on that night. Let's wrestle that night. What is I think
to me, there's kind of a pro and con to that though, because they didn't fill up the pay-per-views with title matches.
Mhm.
They had that, because they had feuds and storylines with people that didn't, that weren't title stuff,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so, and now, and something. A lot of this is our fault as fans. It's not just the creative thing. It's because
Mhm.
now, I mean, again, from thinking we know more than we do, and particularly in the IWC, everything is so title or bust for everybody who we think is good that we as fans don't value the non-title feud, right? Or at least, or we don't. Well, okay, it's funny because we see people saying on Twitter a lot of times that well, we need more non-title feuds, but
Yeah.
then nobody wants, like, everybody wants their favorite wrestlers to be in title feuds though, or to be winning titles. Like, so it's like we say we want non-title feuds, but we don't want our favorite people to be in any of them.
Yeah.
Those
Right.
only non-title feuds are for the people we don't like.
Yeah.
Which are
Because
also the people that they keep claiming they don't want them to have a job there anymore, like
Yeah, of course.
Natalia.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So last thing before we get out of here, what's your big takeaway from this match, this event? What do you think of? You think of SummerSlam '88? Think of Mega Powers, Mega Bucks? What comes to mind?
Aside from just being probably the peak of my wrestling fandom as a young man, something you touched on, there only being one title match, that's all there needed to be. I think if there had been any other championship matches, it would have taken away from that moment and what that meant at the time.
Right. Makes sense in hindsight.
and
You,
for me,
Rob?
well, you look at this. So the main event was a tag team match, and now you fast forward to today, and people, well, look, the past two premium live events, the main events have been tag team matches, featuring the world
Oh,
champion, so to speak, and so I mean, what Roman has been doing is kind of a throwback to this type of
absolutely,
thing,
absolutely.
and where every big show does not have to be a title match. Your world champion can do other things than just defend the title every big show. Like they can, when you have an actual story going along, you don't, then you can do other things. Look, the first WrestleMania main event was a tag team match with featuring the world champion. It was not a world title match.
Yeah.
And you can do that when you have a good story going or a good thing going with your world champion, and you have them, because I mean, Hogan and Piper had the really big feud. And well, now that's something you should watch sometime. One of the old Hogan Piper. They only had a few matches because basically Piper was in there fighting for real.
Yeah.
Like
This is true. This is true.
it wasn't a work to him. It was to him, that was a shoot.
I'm gonna kill him.
And well, because his whole thing was, listening to him talk about, his whole thing was, you're not going to bury me, so I'm not going to play along. I'm not going to lay down for your finisher. I'm going to throw punches at you and fight you and all of this stuff for the whole match. And that, I mean, because his whole thing was like, you're not going to bury me, okay? And but their thing was so hot that their main event at WrestleMania was a tag team match. You can do that if you got a good story going, if you got proper heat between the characters.
Yeah, a lot of this is throwbacks. To be honest, everything they're doing here is a lot of throwbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so to me, that's one of the best things about the Bloodline thing is that they're able to do that and not just do the title match.
Yeah.
And there's a place for that with certain, depending on who the person is and what have you. There's a place to do title match with, depending on who the champion is. But it's good to have just to have something you can do different sometimes. And so to me, Roman's whole run here, and one of the reasons it's gone as long as it has is because they're doing callback stuff to this type of thing.
Yeah, of course.
And because they had the War Games match, and then Last year at Backlash, they had a 6-man tag for the main event, right? Him and the Usos against like Drew and RK Bro. So see, so they're fitting in those type of matches in the story here, and you use those to progress the story, and that's what they did with Hogan and Savage here. They did that type of thing with Hogan a bunch of times, because he didn't have to defend the title all the time. When you have a good story going and all of that, you don't have to do that. You can do other things, and so to me, looking Hogan's title reign, and this period with Savage also here is honestly, if you want a reference point for what's going on with Roman and the bloodline, this is really it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Especially the Hogan one, the first Hogan title reign.
Yeah, I mean, because you had the title matches, but you had other stuff. You had other things going on, and so to me, that's your reference point. And look, I mean, shoot, Heyman goes way back with this stuff, so
yeah,
I'm sure he knows all the history and all of that. And I mean, of course, look, Roman and Jimmy and Jay, they know, they come from a wrestling family, so they know all this history and all this stuff too. So, I mean, they're definitely calling back to all of this stuff.
The right minds were involved.
Yes,
the right people were involved in this, and that's the thing. And you can tell.
Yeah.
So, but that was fun, guys. That was fun.
Oh man, enjoy it, man.
That's always fun to go into the golden age. Fellas, you want to plug anything? Want to plug? DJ, go ahead.
You can hear us on the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. We are part of the Chairshot Radio Network. I got to figure out what day we drop on now. We used to be Friday, then we were Saturday. And then like last week, I think we dropped on Monday this week. So I don't know if we've been shuffled again.
Yeah, you guys are late again. I was like, whoa.
Well, the first time we were late was on me. I had some personal stuff going on. I usually edit and upload and send over to the guys in charge on Friday for Saturday upload. I went out of town that weekend. Friday came and went in a whirlwind, and I left town and never sent the episode over.
Right.
So that one's on me.
All right. Rob, you want to plug?
Well, just same thing, and then of course my own deal, the Rob the Genius podcast, of which you've been a guest a few times, and then I've been a guest of yours.
Yeah,
I've been here.
You've been pretty much doing a frequent flyer in this podcast all year.
Yeah.
Now it's this one now.
Right. And we still on for later? Or?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, man. So great job, guys, as always.